This is Joe from the Queers. You're listening to Dying Scene Radio.
Dying Scene Radio. Dying Scene, Dying Scene, Dying Scene, Dying Scene, Dying Scene Radio. Dying Scene Radio. Dying Scene Radio. Dying Scene Radio.
But our lips must never meet. So go away, little girl, before I beg you to stay.
Joe, you're singing some 50s songs, man. Where did you grow up and what did you listen to when you were growing up?
New Hampshire, I grew up and I listened to like the 60s stuff. Turtles, Beach Boys,
Some
Rolling
doo-wop.
Stones. Yeah, I didn't listen to that stuff so much, but my older sisters had like a really good record collection, so I would listen to a lot of that stuff from the late 50s. And then my sister Heather's a few years older than me, and so I got into a lot of really cool rock and roll stuff. So it was, I listened to all that stuff, but really poppy stuff is what I love. Turtles and Del Shannon and the Beach Boys and all sorts of shit. That's what I really liked.
Growing up in New Hampshire and listening to the surf style music, you know, it's influenced your playing in the Queers.
Yep.
1981 you guys started, right?
Yeah, that's when we first did our first 7-inch anyway.
So, you know, in the time that's between then and now, I mean, what's that, 30-something years?
Yeah.
How has the punk rock music scene changed for you, and how has it evolved? I mean, what do you notice that's different between 81 and now?
I wasn't really that involved in like the whole big punk scene. I'd go to shows back then, and we just kind of did it as we put out 207 inches as kind of like just to have a little local thing, you know. G.G. Allen was around, and so he inspired us to do the 7 inches and stuff. You know, I jammed with him a fair amount back then. He was a drummer, so he drummed for me. Probably money, you know, it became more commercial and accepted, you know, when bands like Green Day got bigger and shit, you know. So it changed. It was a lot more underground. Minor Threat and Black Flag and Social D and all that shit. But in some ways it hasn't changed that much either. I mean, the music got a little more professional, the whole thing. So
I agree with you, production, you know, and everybody, you know, having Pro Tools in their studio these days, of course. But, you know, I mean, in the time that's happened, you know, I mean, it seems like punk rock, it went through its phase of where it was not really accepted to where there was like a little bit of interest and there was mass appeal. And I feel kind of these days it's kind of coming back into where it's, you know, it's kind of where it belongs. It's in clubs.
yeah.
The beauty of punk rock, I think, Joe, is that you can just kind of get together. You know, if I was interviewing Aerosmith right now, I couldn't be talking to Steve Perry, but you make yourself quite available. And that's the beauty of punk rock. You know, everybody's accessible.
For me, like when I would go see big rock shows like at the Boston Garden, you know, it was all arena shit, you know, and I saw some great shows, but you could never talk to any of the musicians. And then I started going to the Rathskeller in Boston, which was their version of CB's. And, you know, the band was there and you could go talk to David Minahan from the Neighborhoods, or John Felice from the Real Kids, who had played with Jonathan Richman and the Modern Lovers at one point, you know, and I think they were from Scituate, Mass or something together. And it was really cool. It was a new thing that you could fucking talk to the...
Joe, man, that's far out. I love you, man. You've been partying since day one, man.
That's
Joe
right,
Queer.
Man, we used to shoot heroin, me and that Black Dahlia. Speedballs, motherfucker. Speedballs. But, yeah, you could talk to the musicians, and it was so cool, and there was no, like, barrier. Those bands talked to you, across to you directly, not down at you like the rock stars would, you know?
Exactly.
And so it was really, really an eye-opener. It was such a cool thing for me, like, back then to see that. And I kind of never forgot that, and so I really frowned down on a lot of these punk bands. You know, they kind of start off as punk bands, and then they turn, using it as a stepping stone, and then they turn into, like, wanker, blowhard rock stars. And it's just like not my thing at all. Like we turned down the Warped Tour. We turned down opening up for like bands like Social D, NoFX, Bad Religion, all those main support. And I was like, no, I'm not trying to make it in the business. I just feel like a blowhard trying to make it in the business. I'm not trying to make it in the business. I'm a guy who grew up in the Social D and Dead Kennedys and Black Flag, and that's who I am now to this day, you know, so I just couldn't do that.
So you like the old school hardcore stuff, you know,
I loved all that, you know, Minor Threat, all that shit. I love that.
But that's an interesting question. You know, Warped Tour these days has become kind of a joke in itself.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
it's really, I mean, you know, as we get older, you and I and everybody else matures,
Yeah.
you know, I guess music styles change and whatnot. But I've been listening to the Queers for a long time. I'm
Yeah.
a big fan. It's a pleasure to meet you. It seems like you guys could really get a big fan base if you did the Warped Tour thing and kind of recycle the fans and, you know, get the kids, the children of people who were listening to you 20 years ago, 30 years ago, back in the day in New England.
You know, we probably could, but again, I'm not trying to make it in the business, and I'm too lazy to do that. But I mean, we could, but I feel like too much of a whore to do that. I really do. I'm the same guy who grew up on the Dead Kennedys, and it's like Black Flag, and like that really made an impact on me. So I just feel like a blowhard doing that and going out and trying to whore my ass to go make it in the business. And I'm like, you know what? This is like success here. I never thought it would be this amazing that I could do an interview with someone in fucking Orlando, and like it was a packed house, and Richie Ramone's band even opened up, and like, oh my God, you know, and the Dwarves, and it's like, this is all gravy for me, man. It's all gravy, you know. I never wanted to be like Green Day, and you know, I'm so happy for those guys, but I didn't care about any of that shit.
I completely understand where you're coming from, Joe. And you speak of legends, you know, Richie Ramone, you know, part of the Ramones legacy and whatnot, playing here tonight with you. What's one of the crowning moments in your musical career to where you've got to rub elbows and share a bill with one of your absolute heroes?
Probably with the Ramones, when one of the big times was when I had sent, this is way back, I had sent Joey Ramone a cassette tape. We'd always get backstage at the Ramone shows. So Joey gave me his address, and I sent him a cassette tape of 4 of our songs, the Queers: Goodbye California, Love, 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 I Don't Want to Get Involved with You, and I'll Be True to You. Stuff that would be on our Grow Up album. Sent him the tape, and a month or two later, I bullshitted my way backstage at the University of New Hampshire. Got backstage, and I said, hey, there was Joey. And I went up. They never had big security. You could always get backstage even before the shows. So I went up and I said, hey, Joey, I'm Joe from the Queers. You know, we weren't like best friends or anything. And he goes, immediately, dude, I really like Goodbye California and Love, Love, Love. He goes, fucking, I'd love to cover Love, Love, Love. That's a great song, and the vocal phrasing. And it made such an impact on me that I knew he had listened to the songs, because I just said, it's Joe from the Queers, and I knew, and he came up and said, I think Goodbye California and Love, Love, Love are great songs. And I was like, fucking man, I was just like, wow. Joey Ramone said my songs were good, and I know he listened to them, because I didn't say, how do you like those songs? He immediately said, I like them, and I was like, whoa, man. And then another time was when I was talking to Joey. I kind of became friends with him, at least enough that we talked quite a bit on the phone, and he'd come to our shows and stuff. And he asked me to work on his solo album, and he said, I really need better songs. I've got some good songs, and people will blow smoke up my ass and say it's great and blah, 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 but I know I need better, stronger songs. I can come up with stronger stuff. You want to work on some songs with me? And I was like, Jesus, man, fucking Joey Ramone asked me to work on songs. Wow. And those were 2 of the times right there that really, like, man, oh man. And then, like, about a week later, Joey actually called me and played me 2 songs, What a Wonderful World and Maria Bartiromo, before his solo album, long before it came out. He said, I got these 2 songs done, listen to them, and he held the phone up to the speaker. And I was like, man, this is fucking cool shit, dude, you know, long before it came out. And then I go, man, he goes, what do you think? I go, dude, this is great. And true story, he wanted to cover Love, Love, Love. Johnny didn't want to do it. And they had the song Slug. This is probably around 86, long before Slug ever came out. Joey sent us a cassette tape with Slug on it. We even talked to their lawyer, a woman lawyer from New York, about them using our song. I don't know which album. It would have been something that I believe Richie would have drummed on. I can't remember what album it was. So he sent us the cassette tape of Slug. At that time, there was no unreleased Ramone songs. We all knew every fucking song that came out. We're like, listen to that song, Slug. Well, the cassette tape plays, and we're just sitting there going, this is a cool song. Keeps playing, and then we hear Joey. It's on a cassette tape where he had recorded part of a song that he was working on called I Want to Be Happy. So it was just the chorus. I want to be happy. I don't want to be bad. I want to be happy. I don't want to be bad. Oh, yeah. So I never forgot that little snippet. I want to be happy. And then, like, his phone rang. He started talking on the phone. It was pretty funny. I told him about this years later. He goes, you're kidding me. I said, dude, your phone rang. You started talking about Marky and shit. We couldn't believe it. But he asked me to work on a song, and I said, geez, you got that song, I Want to Be Happy. He goes, oh, my God, I remember working on that song. I said it was on that tape of Slug that you sent us years ago, because I forgot all about it. Ben Weasel and I took that verse, and I said, let's finish a song for Joey's solo album, and let's finish I Want to Be Happy. We took about 10 or 15 minutes, and we sat down with that one little verse that Joey had, and me and Ben finished that song. We wrote the bridge, and we wrote the whole thing, the guitar lead, and that was for Joey's solo album. By the time I talked to him, he was in the hospital, and he ended up never coming out, and he died. And we wrote the song for a solo album, I Want to Be Happy. That's on our Pleasant Screams album, but that's a true story. That was written for Joey's solo album, and it would have been such a great song for his album. And so it really sucked that he never got to sing it, but that's a true story that in a roundabout way, me and Ben Weasel wrote a song with Joey Ramone. So that's pretty cool, you know? And
Absolutely.
It's a killer tune.
Did you use it, Joe?
Did you get the blow and all that stuff and the gun?
I got the hook.
Cocaine, the gun, and the money? Lloyd, take care of it, bro.
When I ring the bell, they switch places. It's fucking great, dude.
Hey, Black. Great show
Lloyd,
tonight,
hey,
man.
Lloyd, what are you doing? Are you flying
I'm going to go sanitize myself after I
okay.
shake
You're
your
flying?
hand.
Right on. Dying scene and the place to be.
No.
Anyway,
yeah,
hey.
So that was like a really cool thing. So I was like, you know what? We wrote a song for a solo album. So, you know, that shit was really important to me. And I did mention that to Joey's mom after he had died. They had that big bash for him, his 50th, where it would have been his 50th birthday at the whatever the theater was in New York. And I went and sang a song with the Independents. And anyway, that stuff really meant something to me because, God, man, we were backstage with the Ramones talking to Richie years before. You know, he didn't know us. And Tulu, my bass player and drummer who just died.
By the way,
last
our
week.
condolences, man, with dying scene
Thanks,
radio.
yeah. Tulu was our drummer, and he's talking to Richie about how to drum like a Ramone. And so Richie rode out. He was drinking beer with us, and it was backstage because Joey, Dee Dee, and Tommy, Johnny, everybody would mob them backstage. So Richie was always available to talk. So he wrote out a list of how to drum like a Ramone for Tulu. Richie forgot this, but we took that list that Richie wrote, and we had it on our rehearsal room wall for the longest time. I told Richie, I go, oh man, dude, you were our fucking god, man. But it's pretty cool that I know Richie fairly well now. And
That's a great
so it's
story.
like,
Does Richie
you know.
remember that now these days? I mean, you played tonight with him. Does he remember that?
He didn't remember it. No, he didn't. He didn't. He remembered that we opened up at the Agora Ballroom. The Queers opened up. He remembered the shows, but not that we were the opening band.
I'm sure it was all a blur, you know. It was a different day and
of course
age.
it was, sure. Yeah, there were big shows for him. It was just a dream come true to think, gee, friends with Richie, you know, and Joey, and I got good friends. You know, it was really cool for me to talk to Joey on the phone, and they weren't that much older than me. Richie's my age, I think, and Joey was a little bit older, and Johnny and Marky, but, you know, talk about the bands he liked, you know, and I said, you know, T-Rex, and Joey was really into that glam stuff, Slade
Right, yeah.
and Mud,
the old New York Dolls and stuff.
Sweet and shit like
Right.
that. Yeah, I love that stuff. And, you know, we're talking about T-Rex, and he had never seen T-Rex. And I told him how I saw Ian Hunter and Mick Ronson do one solo tour that I had seen where they encored with Moon Age Daydream. And Joey didn't see that tour. And I was like, dude, he was like so jealous. I was like, oh, it was amazing. They came out and they went into the jam on Moon Age Daydream for the encore. And Mick Ronson's playing the fucking guitar. And then all of a sudden they, you know, I'm like going, this is cool. And then they go into Moon Age Daydream. I'm an alligator. I'm a mama papa coming for you. It was great, dude. Talking to Joey, and then like we were talking about the Trogs, and he did see them when they were doing a club tour like in '78 and shit, and how amazing they were, dude.
Isn't it great, man, how you have your idols, and there are kids these days that they look at you as an idol, and you know, hey, it happens, bro. Trust me.
Well, yeah.
You're well respected in the punk rock community.
Yeah,
Let's just say that. But
anyway,
you know,
it was really cool for me to talk to Joey about that stuff, and you know the great thing about him, he was a fan. All of a sudden, I realized what got him out of bed in the morning wasn't how many drugs he had done or chicks or whatever. He just wanted to talk about another good song. He's like, always wanted to talk music. Like, you know, he knew that song, The Shy, because he asked me, what did you think about Acid Eaters? What did you think? And I was like, oh, that song Circles by The Who would have been a really good one. And he goes, yeah. What songs didn't you like on that? So he would listen to fans, you know, and like wanted to see what I thought, you know, and like Circles by The Who would have been a good one. We Gotta Go by the Shy Guys, which was on one of these Pebbles reunions, a band that did like 2 songs from Ohio. He knew them, you know, and it was like so cool. But I realized what got him out of bed was just, you know, music. He was still so excited. My friend Jordan partied with her boyfriend and Keith Richards. She said that was the same thing as with Joey. She goes, it was so cool to see how excited he was about music, Keith Richards. he had the guitar going, they were getting fucked up, and they were writing songs, and he was just so into it, man, you know, and Joey was the same way, and I go, oh, man, isn't that great, dude, you know? That's what gets those guys out of bed in the morning, and we all need something to get us out of bed in the morning, you know?
For sure.
That's what I say, and so it was really cool to get to know him and see. That's what got his engines going. It wasn't about, oh, I'll meet these guys in these bands that suck and they have never done anything and they act like rock stars and they're pompous to their roadies and other people at shows. And these little piddly bands that like have never done anything, and the Ramones changed the fucking world. And every last one of those motherfuckers, from Joey to Marky to whoever, the most down-to-earth motherfuckers, Richie's hanging around, they were all the same way. They were so into it, man. They were so into it. Dee Dee had his little act on, but I never saw any of them be mean to anybody. And they were very down to earth, and Joey was just himself all the time. But he was a fan of music, and it was like, fucking, that's great, you know? I mean, I am too. It's still, I get excited by that shit, and I go, I guess I always will, but, you know, Joey was like, we're talking about Brian Wilson and how Brian Wilson listened to Be My Baby, and he listened to it about 100 times in a row. I go, the first 7-inch I ever had my friend's head, and I had to listen to it. It was 16 Tons by whoever did that song, Tennessee Ernie Ford.
Yeah.
They had it when I was about 10, and I had to listen to it. And I still do that. I'll listen like over and over and over and over. I just listen to these songs, and I go, like Hell in Love, Atomic Beat Boy or something. I just have to listen to it 50 times. And that's how Joey was with these songs. You know, he told me, you know, I was like, I just fucking had to go back and listen to Surfing USA about fucking, you know, 100 times like this week. I don't know why, but I had to, and it was so great every time. Or one song we talked about, it was Bobby Sherman, Julie, 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 do you love me? You know,
I know that song.
Julie, 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 do you care? Julie, 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 are you thinking of me? Julie, Julie, will you still be there? You know, we were talking about what a cool song that was. The Carpenters, and how everybody dismisses those, but Joey and I were talking about how cool they were on like
On Dinah Shore and
well, you know, the Carpenters. I thought like that one song. I said maybe the Ramones could have done like, can we stop hurting each other, making each other cry. We talked about what maybe he could have covered and stuff, but he was a big fan, and I go, they were such great pop songs, you know, and he really was a fan of them too. So it was pretty cool, you know. He just really was into another good song, you know, and I really loved that. It was a big lesson for me, you know. I go, wow.
For sure.
Instead of talking, see, I thought you started a band because you wanted to get laid, or we were so insecure you wanted to act like we were, you know, more.
Well, that's where it
important
starts,
than we
but then
were.
you get integrity.
Yeah, well, you know, you want to do drugs, fucking hang out with chicks prettier than you should be hanging out with, and do all that stuff and party, but then it turns into this thing where, like, you know, music just gets in your soul, and like for me, it's like meeting people around the world, you know. I mean, even at our little level, man, I've got friends from Shanghai to Boise. Man, I can go to Japan, Russia, fucking, you can't put a price tag on meeting these kids and having friends and acquaintances all around the world, and I always wanted to do that when I was in high school. It was a dream of mine to go to like the Colosseum in Italy, you know, and I got to do that. And I have friends in Italy and Spain, and man, you know, I go, wow, I've traveled like a good part of the world, and gee, I've got to do this stuff that I dreamt of when I was a young kid, you know. I wanted to be in a band, and man, I did it, you know, and so that's where I put the value in this, is not doing this stuff, you know. It's really good, but my ego, I'm 57 now, so I don't need any of that shit. Now I really put the value in, like, maybe I can help some fucking kid that's going through a tough time. Maybe, you know, I just meet people in their every day-to-day lives, because at this level we can do that. We're not the Rolling Stones.
Yes, no.
We'll sleep at people's houses,
But
you know.
you have a voice, man, and you have a voice within the musical community, and you're great for your age, bro.
Yeah,
holy
thanks.
shit.
And
57.
that's where I put the value in this stuff. I'm like, man, this journey, I don't know where it's going to end. I'll probably drop dead on stage sometime, but it's just like going down that next bend in the river. It's like when you get out of bed in the morning, I have plans for the next year. It's like you never know what's around the bend in the river with music, you know. It's like I fucking, you know, I'm working on a book that's almost done, and then I'm doing another one, and then we're doing a new album, and it's just like, wow.
What's the
man.
book about? What are you writing the book about?
It's centered around the tour we did with Marky Ramone over in Europe. Me and Dangerous Dave, who's not here
Now, was that
tonight.
with Claire and Alex also?
No, they had dropped off, and we took over on bass and guitar, and so the Queers would open up, and then we would play with Marky. We'd jump on stage with Marky. But it was behind the scenes. It's this stuff here. very little to do with Marky. Marky's kind of a boring person. I love him like a brother, but he's boring.
Right.
He figures very little into it. It's all about traveling with the roadies, the behind-the-scenes shit that you deal with day to day, and how the tour operates. And that's the interesting stuff. It's not like, oh, yeah, we played and there was a chick with big tits. And it's nothing to do with that,
It's not the over-glamorized thing that you would see on MTV2 or whatever.
It's like the fucking assistant promoter fucking put the GPS in for Bolzano, Italy, and took us to a street called Bolzano Street in some little village 6 hours away from where Bolzano, the city, is. Shit like that. And losing the envelope with the pay for Marky Ramone and the Queers, which was like about 6,500 euros, which at the time was about $8,000, at a festival in Gijón, Spain. And these people come up to me at like 2 in the morning, this couple that had seen us play, and they're like, Joe, we see this envelope here, 6,500 euros cash. And like, we see this envelope with your name on it, the Queers of Marky Ramone. We think this is yours. Is this yours? And he hands it to us. Dude, there was 15,000 people wandering around drunk, and they found it in the middle of the crowd and gave it back to us.
Holy
and that's
shit.
how close they were to losing that money. But dude, it just goes on and on.
It's
and
amazing how different cultures have different ideals and respects to like their fellow human being.
Those people certainly did. There weren't too many people there that night that would have turned that one back in.
Choose any city, USA. I mean, and that would have been gone,
dude. And you know
part.
what? Choose almost anybody in the city of Gijón, Spain, at that festival, and that money would have been gone. They were fucking lucky, dude.
Did you give them a reward? Did you give him a couple $100?
I didn't know what was in it. I didn't look in it, and I took it aside, and I didn't want to fucking like say this is money, I was just like, oh, thanks, maybe it's our contract. And I looked and I go, dude, Dave, look at this shit. D-Doc, the assistant promoter, dropped it, and every day on that tour, shit like that happened.
Holy shit, man.
Anyway, so that's what the book, and then it's stories about the Queers through the years. That stuff figures in, and we jump to maybe a different tour or the story, but it's centered around that, and it's coming out great, dude. It's almost done, and I'm like so psyched. It's going to be like a killer book. It's going to be fucking great, dude.
Do you have a publisher? Do you have that lined up yet?
My sister's a writer, Heather King, and she's on NPR and stuff, so she's going to hook me up with her editor, hopefully, and so we're going to send it there first and see what happens. So I can find someone to put it out, but I'm hoping I could get on a bigger book label or whatever.
Sure, hey, Random House, that'd be nice, but absolutely.
So, but anyway, are you all set? I don't mean to be rude, but we're going to drive up to Gainesville.
Do your thing. Hey, I want to ask you one last quick question. Yeah. Chris Barrows did a show with you guys tonight, the last couple songs. You have a long history with him.
Yeah, Chris,
How'd it go, man?
Chris was great. He fucking came up, slammed through Uncouth. We did, White Minority into Tulu as a Wimp.
Yeah.
As a tribute to Tulu. And then Uncouth, a song Chris wrote for our Beyond the Valley album. No, it went great, man. It was fun. And then Richie came up drunk and played the drums, and Sheena's a punk rocker so fucking slow that I almost stopped and said, you're playing this all fucked up, dude. But I didn't have the guts to turn around and tell him he's fucking up his own song. He was so drunk, he's like, it went great, didn't it? I go, dude, I'm going to wake up in a cold sweat tonight going, man, it was too slow, bro. But everybody had a good time.
That's great.
But thanks for doing it, man. It
Show
really
Queer.
is.
Thank you so much, man. Dying Scene Radio.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Last night I had burritos that drank a lot of beer, and then a funny smell is emanating from my rear. My girlfriend tries to hold me as it falls into a swoon. I got a problem and I don't know what to do. Help! I can't stop farting. I can't stop farting. I can't stop farting. Can't stop farting. Burning. radio.